Good morning. How to save money by growing your own vegetables? Well, we are going to have a garden tour as of July 19, 2021 to share what we grow in our garden and how you can save money by growing some of your own vegetables. We can start with the front yard. We do use the front yard to grow vegetables, but as we are walking, we will talk about different ways you can save money. And right now we are looking at asparagus. Here, very thick branches. Well, are you wondering if it's worth growing your own food at home? How much you can save by growing your own food? Well, one thing you can do to save money is to buy your seeds in bulk. And when you buy seeds in bulk, you plant them, you save the rest to replant again. So that's one way to save money. Second, I'm not going to count the numbers, but another option will be to let your plant vegetables go to seed and you harvest your own seed. By doing so, you only buy one specific variety only once, and then you have the seeds to grow from. Another option will be to plant perennial vegetables. By planting perennial vegetables, you only buy the seeds once and you plant them, and you pretty much have them from that point for many years. And this is Egyptian onion, a perennial, a true perennial onion to our zone 5A. So it's good to know your own zone and see what will grow in your area, if they are annual or perennials, and go from there. Another option will be by planting perennials vegetables, you'll pretty much decrease you will use them in your cooking. That way you won't have to buy the seeds year after year to plant them, because that's what you'll be doing with annual vegetables. Another option will be to walk through your property to get to know your weeds. And by talking about weeds, we just come across one. To get to know wild plants on your property. That's the free plant your land is providing you. Know the ones that are edible and use them in your cooking. At the same time, it gives you an idea what plants can grow in your area, on your property, because they'll have their relatives, annuals. And know the ones that are medicinal, so that you can add them to your medicinal, your home natural remedies cabinet. So this one is wild lettuce. I don't know the scientific name to say it, but I have two varieties. This one is edible. I have not done an extensive search on it to talk much, but the difference between the two is the back of this is hairy. It has some soft pickles, and this is wild lettuce. Can be added to salad based on the few search that I did on it. And that's the first time it's growing inside the garden. I have seen it on my kitchen, a little bit at the border of my kitchen herbs garden 2 years ago, and let it there to see if it can go to seed so that I can have it. And This year is the first time it's growing in the garden, and I'm not cutting it. So I'm going to show you the second one. The second one is medicinal. I believe it's a pain reliever. It does not have a hairy back, but it does have hairy sides. I believe the other one has it too. But they are both alike. And this one is on the soft side. But it's known to be the one without the hairy back is known to be the medicinal one. And the one with the hairy back, hairy spine is known to be the edible one that can be added to salad. So, but once again, I have not done an extensive search on it. So, yeah, by using wild plants in your cooking, you won't need their cousins annuals to purchase in the store. So by growing your own vegetables, there will be, you won't purchase some vegetables in the store, and that saves you money. And I have a lot of onion on the propon that I'm growing, Egyptian onion, and that's our onion sauce. And I have garlic that I grow as perennials. It stay in the ground year around, and I eat the leaves, and I do not buy garlic anymore. So that's two things I do not purchase. To plant, I do not purchase to eat. So it saves money. Third, by growing perennial vegetables, you do not water as much as if you are growing annual. And this is soft garlic, is already ready for harvest, but because I do not harvest them, they will stay here and they will come back. But because there is so many in one spot, if I wanted to harvest to replant elsewhere, I'll be able to do that. But pretty soon after, I'll be able to see those and I'll be able to locate them. So that's how they stay in one spot year after year, because I may not see them. Okay, so another way to save money by growing your own vegetables is to mulch. Plant to feed your land, not your plants. So mulch, you can use free mulch. I use fall leaves. I use cotton, cardboard boxes. I use wood chips. I use wild plant around the property to mulch. So mulch your land to feed the organism. As they break, it is food for them. As they break those mulch down, it will turn into a compost for your garden and feed your plants. So if you are growing perennials, they are there year after year, you won't have to put much work in the garden. So another way to save money by growing your own food is to introduce fruit trees to your property. I will put a list in the description of those nurseries that I purchased my things from, and how much do you save to grow your own food. I won't be able to put a price tag on it. At the beginning, it's going to cost you money to fence the garden if you need to fence, because I fence mine from deers and I fence it from bunnies. So I use chicken wire, 1 inch or half-inch hole chicken wire, and then I use strong fence, 3 and 4 feet tall fence to fence the garden. A fence within fence, so that deer don't jump in. And here is currants. I plant fruit trees, but by planting, I thought about what do we gain from them, like their nutrient. And I did a search on those before I introduced them to the garden. And I wanted fruit trees that are now popular around this area that I won't have the need to spray. I know I'm not going to spray, but I don't want them to have disease problem. So I started with fruit trees that are not known to this area, or you may not even seen in the store, but they are hardy to our zone. And after I planted them, I noticed that, well, we usually eat apple, pear, peaches, so it might be a good idea to introduce those. And the thing is, they produce many pounds of fruit, therefore it will save more money to plant those trees that will produce heavily over time. But it might be a good idea to introduce some that will produce early on for you to eat some, while the big trees will take little longer. So we have currant here, and this one is white currant, and it is already ripe and can be freshly eaten raw like that. And I have two by just propagating. So one way to save money is to propagate. And I think the way I have done this is just to put one branch in the ground, put dirt on it, and probably have nakare. Well, I'm not sure. I do know that I do not purchase one variety twice. So here we have red currants. And later I will share my garden spreadsheet to see how, in case you want an idea how you can track what you are growing, to have something for your record. And you don't know if you'll be able to see, but it's pretty much, I will say maybe it's less than 4 feet tall, the tree itself. And it is red currant, and it's red because it's ripe, otherwise it will be on the green side. So at this point the kids will come in and they will harvest. And by growing your own food, if you are wondering if it's worth to do that when you have children, is a nice way to introduce them to fruits. By seeing things in the garden, they will eat it more, I will think. At least that's the experience that I have. And here we have Concord grape, seeded grape. And because I have those warrior that cost quite a bit, I wanted to make good use of the money. So I introduced some vine into the garden, and I have Concord, and you can see them growing. And I like to prune them heavily in the spring because they grow on last year vine. So I do not let other vine stay on the main vine. Right next to it, I have seedless Concord grape. That's the second year of fruiting. And I have quite a bit as well on the vine this year. And right below it, I have black raspberries. And black raspberries, I've been propagating it because it's easy to propagate, and the grape is easy to propagate. When you trim it in spring, you just use those canes to replant. I have another currant here. It will be black currant, and that will be the first year of growing because I propagated here. I trim them down. I trim black currant down as well in spring, and I will cut those branches, and I will just seed them to the ground to propagate them. So that's the first year for this growing, and it has a lot of currant on it. And if we are not eating some of those fruits, I like to harvest them and put them in the freezer. They are tart, so I will assume they are high in vitamin C. I don't remember what nutrients they have, but I know it will be high in vitamin C, so that'll be good to add them to teas in winter. And I have healthy apple. That's the first year of producing apple. I have blueberries. And second year of producing berries. Have plenty more than that, but they are not growing prolifically, so they are not growing quickly. Sorry. And there are one plant trees you can propagate as well. So this is the mother blackcurrants that have been trimming from and propagate. And so that's it is ripening here by turning black when it's ripe. And I had to say, out of all the currant that I have, is the one that is really expanding, growing in height and space. So it's here right next to raspberry, and raspberry, that's the first that's the spring production. I let they came last year can produce in spring before I'll cut them and the new cane that grow this year will produce in fall. So the last fall cane is producing raspberry right now in June, and end of May we harvest the strawberries with the kids, and we have big patch of strawberries, but we are not seeing much anymore here. But yes, and by perennial vegetables we have sorrel that we use as spinach and lettuce. And let your vegetables go to seed and save your own seeds, so or let them reseed themselves. So I propagate sorrel from roots or from shoots, because the shoot will come from the side of the stem, and you have the seeds as well. So by having sorrel in the garden, I do not buy lettuce and I do not buy spinach. So that's one way to save money. And by using wild plant in our cooking, we do not buy those vegetables. And this is wild mustard going to seeds. If you let a wild plant go to seeds in your garden, be very careful about what you are letting go to seeds. I have let them go to seed, and frankly they like to take over, but I like to eat their leaves, and I will chop them up. Don't need to simmer. I will chop them up and put them in the freezer for winter use. And another blackcurrant here that I planted, just put a stem in the ground. We have apple tree. In fact, we have 4 apple trees. One here and one here, and 2 that I just showed. That's parsnip going to seeds. One thing I have experienced is I do not harvest my root crop, so I don't plant them anymore. But the one that I have planted, they have been around. And by talking about root crop, let's talk about potato. This potato has been here for at least 3 years. Comes back year after year, and I have planted potatoes here a few years ago, and I didn't harvest them all. And that spar keep growing year after year. In fact, it's not the only spar. I have another potato here as well, and that's parsnip and garlic. I let hardneck. I have Siberian and music hardneck garlics. They produce. I let them go to seeds, and I'll just put those bubbles in the ground and they grow, so that I can have enough supplies of those. And if you look through the wire, those are garlics there as well. Those are garlics there. So I don't harvest them, and once in a while I will harvest them, break the clogs and replant them. And when you are introducing those fruit trees in your garden, keep in mind that the first few years that you'll be working on your garden, it will cost you quite a bit of money, but over time you won't spend any money if you introduce the right plant. This is honey berry. I have two because you need two for pollination, and they have been growing quite a bit, almost 4 feet tall, if not more. They have the same nutrient, if not more, as blueberry. So you can see the color of the fruit, and this one is ripe, can be eaten. It is on the south side, and we harvest quite a bit already. And we have the second one here. I don't recall the name, but we did quite a bit of harvesting. Quite a bit of harvesting already from them. And that's just to show few of the plants we have in the front yard that we grow to save money. So if you are introducing plants in your garden, you have to take that into consideration if you are having a garden for show or you are having a garden to save money. And on our channel, our goal is to share multiple ways you can save your hard work money as an employee and put that money to work, so that even if you are sleeping, you can make money. So you need to live well below how much you are making so that you can put your money to work. So we are growing our food. We are growing a garden not for show, but to be sustainable, to be practical. So we try to see 3 things we can use, and one is fall mulch from the trees. When they fall, you are going to break them. It's worth a mulch in your garden. And I mulch them with fall leaves, and you can see they break down very well. And just to take a look, you will notice that we have a lot of garlic around here. All those flat leaves are garlics, and it's easier to spot right before they fade, because the hard neck will stay around for a while, but the soft are ready for harvest when they are turning brown and going flat on the ground. So it'll be a good time for me to harvest them, and if I have other spot I want to put them, otherwise I just leave them alone. And I will have a blog article to show pictures and all we discussed, in case I forgot something, including the companies that I purchased from. I will recommend, if you are trying to buy bulk on seed, Felco is a good one. And while we are here, let's talk about wild plant. One wild plant is dandelion. It goes in our salad. So when we don't buy lettuce, we don't buy spinach, we don't buy garlic, we don't buy onion. We have their substitute. The substitute or alternative in our garden. So dandelion is very good to use in salad, and the root is medicinal. And FedcoSeeds.com is a good website to buy bulk seeds, to buy vegetables and perennial vegetables. And you can have your own spice. That way you won't buy spice. I do not buy spice anymore. I just use my own herb and search other herbs that I can introduce in the garden that can grow well in our zone that we'll use to replace spices. So here we have wild thyme, and we have winter savory. And I purchased them from, at least the winter savory, from Richard's Nursery, I believe from Canada. And another potato, but those potatoes are just regular potato you buy in the store. When I peel them, the skin is mulch. I'll put it here, and those skins that I put here during winter time, they are trying to grow. That's another one here, and that's another one here. It's now, in fact, plenty. They are here as well. It's now a way that I recommend to plant potatoes. The main potato lady is a nice nursery, garden nursery, to purchase potato. I have purchased finger lines potato from them to plant. So if you are looking for so I'll have those nurseries. For fruit trees, I have Burnt Ridge, I believe it's called, and One Green World. But Burnt Ridge, if I will choose one, I'll choose Burnt Ridge. And there is a fruit trees here, is Gumi. The boundary will be dead. So we may not talk about the back much, but this is Gumi, and you eat it raw as well. It has seeds in the middle, but it fixes nitrogen for plants around. So does not need nitrogen itself, I think. And I think it has, I had to check, but I think it has lycopene or something like that. When I'm talking about nutrients and vitamins and antioxidants, it is high in one of them as well. And you can just pop it in your mouth, and all of them right now here are ripe. And I just chew on it, and that's the seed inside. And I purchased it from Burnt Ridge. Burnt Ridge is affordable, and I like them. The next to them is One Green World. And by propagating grape, this is a grape that I propagated from seeded Concord Green, and that's their first year of producing here. So by having one grapevine, I have two now in the garden. And I have purchased the seedless grapes from Starborough, and most of them say they are good for our Zone 5A, but if I had to recommend one for Zone 5A, it would be seedless Concord grape, or seeded Concord grape. And this year is the first year that most of them came, their vine survived the winter. The prior year they died to the ground and come back, but grape has to grow on last year vine. For that reason, I have now production from them, but this year one or two are doing well out of the one we have. So here is another spice that I introduced to the garden. I don't remember the name, but the root is what you use. It's very hard. It's not wasabi, but it's close, and I forgot the name of it, but you will use the root. The root is very hard to grate. It's right there. And I have carried and propagated, and right now I have this one and I have this one. The way they divide themselves, I could divide it in two and propagate. It's good when you have money to protect some stuff in your garden from them until they are strong enough to survive them. Rhubarb doesn't have issue with bunny or deer. So rhubarb, You can grow them to have your own pie or rhubarb sauce to go with pork steak or pork chops. And we have multiple fruit trees, but we are not going to talk about all of them. Just to say that if you have a place in your house, you can grow your own food. It might take a while, but there is a way to grow your own vegetables to save money. And this is that vegetables, that fruit, that spice that I told you about again here. So growing strong. But the first year has been hard for it because of bunny or deer, and I had to put a cage on top of it. And after that year, it was okay. So there is multiple trees that can grow in your area. You just have to do research and see what you can introduce. Over time, you won't buy fruits. You'll have your own fruit naturally grown on your property, and that will save you money as well. So you don't need to water your garden. I do not water my garden year around. I just mulch. So when you mulch, you don't need to water your garden. When you are growing things naturally, you do not need pesticide in your garden. You do not need fertilizer in your garden. When you are growing perennials, well, you do not need to work hard in your garden year after year. You work the first few years and things just will take off after that. So last year, 2020, and this year, I have not done much in the garden. This year, I didn't purchase anything for the garden. Last year, 2020, I didn't purchase anything. 2019, I spent $85. I will say $86 after rounding in the garden, probably because I pay for a lot at the community garden, and then I stopped doing that and move my things home. So we have strawberries here to harvest. And when the kids are not harvesting them, I will harvest and put in the freezer so that I can make pie or sauce to go with, like strawberry sauce with rhubarb to go with cream cheesecake, for instance. And this is another black currant that I propagated. That's sorrow going to seed. And when you plant your onions, let them go to seeds. Have planted lettuce 1 year, let them go to seeds. And I have a lot of lettuce seeds stored, but I'm not planting them. And this is turnip. I have turnip, rutabaga, and right now I don't even know which one is which anymore. I didn't plant them last year, but they came back and they grow. I ate some leaves, and now they came back this spring to set seed because they are biennial to set seed, and I have those seeds falling on the ground. So that means, and you'll notice the seeds are falling around June. So that means that's the right time to plant them in my area, and by August I'll be seeing baby of them growing in the garden. So that's one way to let your plant go to seed and seed themselves. And by doing that, I don't need to do anything. But originally, the first few years, it cost me money to put the fence